I'm back. It is October, so it is time for the Halloween book tag. We're going to start this question tag off strong because this first question is very intense. And it is question 1, carving pumpkins. What book would you carve up and light on fire? I would definitely go with The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett because this one conveyed women in a very despicable way. And I made a video about it when I first started my channel, and I still get people commenting on it saying that I'm a woman and I can't read because I hated that book. I think it's kind of hilarious now. Like, it's just a book. Get over it. People like different things. But the fact that people get so upset about me disliking one book out of the billions of books there are, it's kind of funny to me. Obviously, there are books that are better than that book and there are books that are worse than that book. It is on a massive sliding scale of subjectivity, and I think I was just so annoyed about it at the time, and I've clearly moved on, but it's also funny to reflect on. So yeah, I would carve it up and set it on fire, but I also just don't care if I don't. Question 2 is trick or treat. What character is a trick and what character is a treat? In this series, there is a literal character called the Fool, so I would go with Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy and say the Fool because he technically belongs to the king. He's kind of like the court jester, but he takes it upon himself to just sow confusion all the time. So that is the Fool, definitely a tricker. And then the treat would be Thimble, and he is from Legends and Lattes. Basically, he's the most adorable baker you could ever possibly meet. I would die for Thimble. I just want to put a little tiny blanket around him because he's a very small character and just protect him so that he can make me all the cinnamon scrolls. So definitely the treat. He's adorable. Then we've got question 3, which is candy corn. What is a book that is always sweet? And I just want to pause that for a second because what the heck is candy corn? Is that like literal corn that's been turned sweet? Is it like a toffee apple? It's very confusing. I feel very Australian reading this list. But the book that I want to talk about that is always sweet is The Tea Dragon Society. And this one is about a young girl who doesn't want to continue the family tradition of blacksmithing. And she runs off one day, and in the town centre, she sees this little dragon being attacked, and she saves the little dragon, and it's actually a tea dragon that belongs to a master. And she connects with this master, and he shows her the art of tea making and how it requires patience and resilience. And through that, she earns this kind of respect for herself and a deeper understanding of the world. And she starts to question her place in it and the responsibility and the tradition that is associated with different familial lines. And I think it's just a really beautiful retrospective story, and it is very sweet because everyone approaches each other with such tenderness, and it's just really lovely. It's also a graphic novel, so it's really short and very easy to get through if you want to give it a try. Question 4 is ghosts. What is a character that you would love to visit you as a ghost? Can I cheat? Because in Under the Whispering Door, it is literally about ghosts, and it's also set in a tea shop. So I would like to go to the tea shop and then have a reading from the ghosts, but I don't think the reading would actually give me any answers. It would just be them being chaotic because they're kind of stuck between a midway point of crossing over or realizing that their body has died. They're already in limbo themselves and they've got to work a lot of things out. So maybe I would visit them and get a coffee. I think the vibe of this video is that I just really want coffee and pastries, which is an ongoing theme for my existence, to be honest. If a character was a ghost though, and they had to visit me, would they already have to be dead? Because I don't want any of my favorite characters to be dead. So I don't want any of them to visit me. Does that still count? Can I say Silver Under Nightfall then? Because some of them are vampires, so they're technically not alive? I don't want to kill anyone off. I just want all my characters to be happy, which isn't really the vibe of a Halloween book tag, but vampires walk that halfway point between living and dead. I feel like I'm trying to talk around this question a lot, so maybe I need to move on from it because I don't have an answer. Question number 5 is dressing up in costume. What is a character that you would want to be for a day? And I don't think I'd want to be anybody in this world, but I would like to cosplay as this character at some point in my life, and that is Starlight from The Boys. She has a lot to deal with in The Boys. It's a very intense show. If you haven't heard of it before, it is essentially superheroes, but they look like they're nice and shiny and beautiful, but actually behind the scenes they are all corrupt. Murderers, psychopaths, and Starlight is part of that world because she's a superhero essentially, but she doesn't really want to be part of it. She wants to take down the corruption rather than participate in it, but to take it down you kind of have to get your hands dirty. So I don't really want to be exposed to what she is, but I want to dress up like her for a day because her costumes are cool. So I think I'll cap it at cosplaying and then move on. Question number 6 is witches or wizards? What is your favorite magical moment? I don't know if I would necessarily say magical, but it kind of crosses crosses that boundary into, I guess, magical versus cinematic. And in The Final Empire, which is the first Mistborn book, there are moments of describing the magic system in here that feel very magical, obviously because it's a fictional fantasy book and it's got magic in it, but there is a system to understanding and using it which makes it a bit more tangible. And there's a moment in here where Vin, the main character, is learning this magic. There's a distinct way of using it, which is to push and pull, and she can view all of the little beams of invisible light to everyone else, but if she tugs on those different invisible lines, then she can influence the magic. So one of those cinematic moments would be Vin being able to recognize what magic is and to see it and use it, and then the euphoria that comes with doing that. I would say that's like a magical moment, and there are so many cinematic magical action sequences in this book and this series. I think that would be a magical moment. It's not super duper magical in terms of like waving a wand and watching all these beautiful lights go everywhere, but it is cinematic in that it is action centric and also learning, and it helps the reader understand the world more because it's chronicling Vin interact with the world, which is just a great way to immerse your reader as well. And then the last question on this tag is question 7, which is blood and gore, and that is, what is a creepy moment in a book that made you want to stop reading it, or that made you want to take a break for a while? And at one point in my life, I was doing temporary shifts as a receptionist. So I go to a lot of different places, and a lot of the time it was quiet. They just wanted someone to present as the face of their company so that anyone walking in or calling the phone would have someone to talk to, but that meant a lot of downtime in the middle of those things. So I would often listen to audiobooks but still be alert. And I was reading It by Stephen King at the time, and I was in this unfamiliar building, and while I was listening to it, I walked out because it was the end of my shift, and I was waiting for this elevator to come, and I hadn't pressed the button yet, and nothing was alight, but a lift arrived and the door opened. And nobody else was around. It was one of 2 floors, and nobody was on the ground level either. So I was like, am I going to die if I get into this lift? Because is the spirit from it coming to try and haunt me and capture me? Like, I'm not a 10-year-old child, but I was convinced that I was gonna die. So I actually turned around and I took the stairs. I was like, I don't trust elevators today. I'm halfway through it, which is very creepy. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna tempt fate. I think it was also during the month of October as well. So I was like, no way. So I just took the stairs down. So that would be my creepy moment of reading a book. It didn't necessarily make me stop reading it, but it made me do an about face and not take an elevator. So I think that counts. But there we have it. After that story time, it is the end of this book tag. Let me know if you're reading anything creepy, especially if it's fantasy focused, because I love some good horror thriller tropes in a fantasy setting. I'm not hugely into suspense or thriller or crime, but I'll read it if it's part of a fantasy world already. So if you've got any of those recommendations, let me know, or just tell me what you're currently reading. I'd be interested in that too. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you in the comments below with your recommendations, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.